Good evening. It's the 31st of August 2020. I would like to carry on my story of Middlemarch. Just to recap, if you remember, we were just about to enter the cellar doors where the radiant light was coming out of, and I was mind-boggled by the thought that there was the pub across the way in the park called the Acre, but there were cellar doors open just down the alleyway with light shining on the far wall of the alleyway in all prisms of colour. It was glorious. So I was intrigued, and I'd heard about the culvert running under adjacent to the high street, so I thought I'd found the canal. So I walked through into the cellar. The light was blinding my eyes. I couldn't see. I was stumbling. I carried on walking for maybe 20-30 steps. My eyes gradually adjusted to the intense light that was around me. My breathing was shallow, but I wasn't afraid. My heartbeat hadn't gone up. It was a beautiful light. It wasn't warm, it wasn't cold, it was radiant. My breathing was almost transparent. It was a wonderful feeling. It was as though it was filling me and feeding me at the same time. I gradually became aware of my surroundings and where I was. I was looking up a slight incline in a meadow with 3 trees at the end, and a field to my left of what I think were sunflowers. The meadow was beautiful. It was idyllic, really. I was looking around at my surroundings. I could not understand where the light was coming from. It was everywhere. It was beautiful in itself. I looked at the top of the rise. The trees were in the shape of fans, really, and they were wafting to and fro as though they were creating a airflow in this scene. The air was crisp. My lungs, I felt lighter, as I said, more transparent. I looked around. The incline was, say, not much of a gradient. Just, you could see to the top of the hill, maybe a mile away. It was hard to judge because of my eyes adjusting to the intensity of the light that seemed to fill my whole being. I was mesmerised by the scene. There was a breeze, but there wasn't a breeze. It was as though the trees were acting like fans, billows in the air. A spirit came upon me as though I was being lifted, light in every way possible. Then a little fellow, that's how I will describe him, came down the path, lightly stepping, as I thought, through the meadow. But when I looked further, and I noticed that he was following a path that was like seashells, white seashells, fluorescent pearls. The light was glistening off this path. I don't know what it was made of. I could not fathom it out really. It was it was reflecting light. It was everywhere. This fellow came bouncing down the path, looked me up and down, and said, "Hello, journeyman." I looked at him and said, "Hello, fellow traveller." And he was of small stature, 5 foot, no, I tell a lie, 3 foot maybe, but seemed to fill the air. Just had an overwhelming sense of being. His dress was beyond belief. He was wearing trousers and a pair of shoes with braces coming up. I would say he was 3'3", maybe at the most. As you know, with some people, they say I'm 3'3.5". And a half makes a difference, don't forget it. Well, this fellow had no problems at all. His dress would have brought attention of anyone. His trousers seemed to glimmer in the light and literally ripple and change colour as you looked at them. Greens, purples, reds, blues, yellows, oranges seemed to come off, shimmer off his trousers. His shoes were almost a silver, very similar to the colour of the iridescent white that was the path. But maybe the light from the path and the light around us just made everything so much more vibrant. His shirt, well, I think it was a shirt, when I think back, was an attire that was just, again, colours of all the rainbow, the spectrum of colours, but shimmering and changing and flowing with his every move. He had a smile that went from ear to ear and a little button black nose and eyes that danced and glistened, were hazel, then browns and oranges and sometimes blues. He had a dicky bow tie on that, when he laughed and smiled, span round. How it didn't decapitate him, I do not know. And I said to him, "Genteel man, what be thy name?" Now, this came out of my mouth, well, I assume it did, and I was astounded. My talk, my vocabulary had changed somewhat. I couldn't believe it. His bow was spinning and he said, "My name is Orgon Filo." And he seemed to stand up and be counted. And he said, "I have heard of you in the stories, but I never thought I would come across you, journeyman. And where are you off to?" I said, "I am going to the hill up there, walking along the path. Would you like to accompany me?" I didn't think he would, because he was heading the other way. He abruptly turned and said, "I would like to, journeyman, find out more about you, where you're going. I'm sure we will have great adventures."